Hello and welcome back to the Chatcade podcast, where I discuss media in the forms of reviews and discussions. I'm your host, Dranking Thomas Hughes, and today I'm doing what I said I would do at the end of last year. Obviously, I was meant to do this last week, but obviously I postponed it to the Suicide Squad review, but now I'm actually going to do it, and that is cover Venom, the 2018 movie that starred Tom Hardy as a titular character, which obviously was directed by Ruben. I'm not good at fucking saying some people's names, but I'm going to have a go at this. Ruben Fleischer, is it? Who directed, obviously, Zombieland, and is going to be directing the next Now You See Me movie. And obviously, that kind of explains his casting choice for the movie's end credit sequence. Of course, Venom is based on the Marvel Comics character, who over the years has been a mixture of a straight-up villain for Spider-Man, and obviously in his own right, an anti-hero. Obviously, the movie takes particular inspiration from the comic book line Lethal Protector, which obviously delves into the anti-hero portion of Venom's story, basically. Obviously, I watched this on Blu-ray last night. Didn't think I was going to at first because my Blu-ray player did not like my copy of this for some reason. The amount of sounds that were coming from that Blu-ray player, I don't know if it's the disc or if it's just the fact that the Blu-ray player is old. But either way, it fucking struggled at first, but I managed to get it working in the end, thankfully, so I was able to watch it. But yeah, obviously, big fan of the character of Venom. Obviously, I got very into the comic book line by Donny Cates, I believe this is. Yeah, so I got really into this comic book line. I can't remember which issue this is exactly in terms of the volume wise. I did try and find the first volume, but I think that's kind of buried behind all the rest of the comic books. I mean, this is kind of like the start for me for Marvel Comics in terms of actually reading them. Obviously, I picked up some over the years, but I never actually got fully into reading them. But for me, after seeing the first Venom movie, I got very into, even more into the character of Venom. So obviously I started picking up the comics. And as I just really got into the story of Venom, I say specifically the anti-hero story of Venom, not the villain story. I don't mind the villain story of Venom because I love Spider-Man 2's take on Venom. I love Venom throughout the years on the animated series, or his different appearances throughout that. But the anti-hero Venom for me is when it peaks, because obviously you get a lot more screen time. That's not just him basically fucking trying to kill people. Plus, obviously, it does also mean we get characters like anti-Venom. In this case, actually, Agent Anti-Venom, I believe this one is, actually. There's a lot of really cool stuff you get from him being the hero rather than the villain, which is great. And obviously, this film very much delves into, okay, what if Venom is a hero? And I will try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible, as I've done with the previous two, obviously, Spider-Man-less Sony Universe movies, i.e. Madam Web and Craven. The links for those will be in the description below. So I'll save my more spoiler take on this movie for a hopeful group podcast down the line. It might not even be like just based on this one. It might be like the whole universe, and we can just delve into a lot more of it. So my fingers are crossed on getting that one out at some point, if not this year, at some point in the future. So yeah. So obviously I made some notes during watching this movie so I can remember stuff I wanted to bring up. But obviously you can see from the quality of this first movie why Sony looked at this and was like, okay, let's not only make sequels to this movie, let's actually make an entire universe based on Spider-Man characters, but not have Spider-Man involved whatsoever. Because I mean, this movie made like over 850 million at the box office. That is like a massive amount for a movie, and specifically a movie that's whole obviously character is linked to Spider-Man, but we've got no Spider-Man whatsoever, or no reference at all to Spider-Man. But it shows that people turned up for the character of Venom because Venom is a big character. So you can see why they thought, well, easy money. I say bash out some sequels. Obviously, the sequels themselves did well at the box office. They did both. Yes, they never reached the height of this. I think like combined, they're probably like the exact same amount as this, or maybe just a bit more, or maybe even less. I can't remember the exact amount the new one got. I know it got I swear it got over 400 million. or was it over 300? I can't remember. But obviously, you can understand why they were like, okay, let's also try and see if we can get the audience to invest in other characters. Obviously, they kind of probably chose the wrong characters, because the box office receipts for the other three non-Venom entries aren't the best. I mean, I think the only one that you could say had like a okay enough box office return would probably be Morbius. But even then, I mean, what, 160 something million I think that earned? Even that's not a massive amount really for a comic book movie. And let's not get even started on fucking Madam Web. 100 million I think that was. And Craven, which I don't think even reached. I don't even know what Craven got to in the end. That's how fucking bad that one did. I'm gonna check how much that actually made in the end. So I never actually saw. It's like total 60 million. I thought it was less than that, if I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I mean, you say 60 million, you go, that's not too bad. But when you consider the fact that his budget was like almost 130 million, you go, okay, no, that's bad. That's a really bad return, especially since the fact that the movie's it's not. I'm guessing it's not in cinemas anymore. Well, I assume it wouldn't be for the fact that it's been like over a month, and I'm pretty certain they probably would have pulled that from cinemas very quickly after its bad fucking return. So 60 million. To be fair, I can understand with that one because that movie was the weakest. But yeah, obviously another thing I noted when watching this early on, obviously the opening sequence is very similar to another 2018 adaptation. Obviously, very disappointing, which obviously the opening of this movie is a spaceship crashing. You get the view of the ship from the outside, and you hear basically over the comms obviously there's something going on, and then the ship crashes, and there's a lot more focused on the aftermath, i.e., them trying to recapture the symbiotes, but of course, a symbiote getting away. So that to me kind of reminded me of the movie Rampage, the obviously video game adaptation that starred Dwayne Rock Johnson, which also started with a ship in space dealing with stuff that most people will probably see as sketchy and dodgy. And that also showed that ship crashing because of something breaking out inside, but that one showcased more of the inside of the ship crashing. Obviously, the incident inside the ship, i.e. in that one, I think it was the rat, obviously mutated, and it went crazy inside and caused the whole ship to crash. So this is very similar to that, but obviously this takes a different approach of it's more brief. It's not as in-depth as that one. It's not as showcasing exactly what's going on, because it tries to keep this symbiote stuff a bit more of a mystery, whereas Rampage tries to go from the out of this is what you're going to get. You're going to get these animals mutated, and it's going to just cause chaos for these people. So you this one, as I say, instead goes for the idea of, okay, let's just make you think what's going on in this ship. It's not actually show you exactly what's going on. Let's make you think, oh, I'm guessing like a symbiote's got out, maybe latched onto someone, that person's going crazy and attacking people, and then bang, the ship's down. So I like that. Obviously, yes, I know you can say you got two things the exact same in 1 year in terms of obviously a spaceship crashing, causing something to get released into onto the Earth. But at least they're both different enough. At least, let's say one just straight up shows you everything. Whereas, as I like with Venom, that it does keep it a mystery and saves, obviously, the big sort of reveal of what a symbiote can sort of do for the last shot before we cut to, obviously, Eddie. And obviously, we get his introduction. I like that it kind of saves it for that moment for you to go, oh, okay. I'm kind of drawn in there by this mystery. What's all this? What can it actually do? If you didn't actually know anything about Venom or the symbiotes, you'd probably be going, I wonder what this is actually going to be about. Like, I wonder how all this is actually going to fully work. So I like that they kept it a bit more of a mystery for this intro. I also think it's crazy with, obviously, especially after sitting through the Venom trilogy over the years. It's crazy going back to the first one and seeing this pre-Venom Eddie Brock, especially since obviously where you get to it inside the last movie, the downfall of that man is just ridiculous. He's just obviously at rock bottom essentially, being chased by government agents. It's crazy to see him before that when he's like this really successful reporter that's bringing down basically bad guys, not with his fists but with his words. It's crazy to see that side of Eddie compared to, say, where we get to 2 movies down the line where he's just kind of like a broken man running from the law. So it's crazy seeing that. I mean, it's really good character development. So I will give him props for that. And obviously, Tom Hardy does a good job in this movie of showing this character being this like pretty like big dude to just slowly delving into him basically being a nobody anymore and being just batshit insane, thanks to obviously the symbiote in his brain. Well, not just his brain, in his entire body. So I think Tom Hardy does a good job of showing these two sides to Eddie, as I say, the successful side and the basically down the dump side, or nobody side, I should say. So I like I like that. I think that's a really good performance from him. Another positive I'm going to note for this is another character we get, not just in this movie, but in the sequels and also in the second Spider-Verse movie. Obviously, Mrs. Chen. She only has like a brief appearance pretty much in each movie, but each time she shows up in all these movies, it's always just a smile on my face because she's just fucking hilarious, because she does not give a shit what she says. I mean, the first time you see her in this movie and she sees Eddie, the first thing she says to her is, "You look like shit," and he's just like, What did you just say to me? She's like, "You look like shit." I just fucking love the character. She's so funny. I would say I wish we got her in the rest of these, obviously, this franchise's movies. But I probably wouldn't want to put that on her, because they say she's hilarious, and there's no point putting her in 3 movies that aren't the greatest movies out there. Because they literally could have easily done like a joke where she's basically like I think was her name Claire Temple, the one that Rosario Dawson played in Defenders. They could have literally done what they did with her character, had her show up in all of the movies in some way or form. But at the same time, I'm glad that just didn't. Obviously, I like with this movie as well. It's very dark and edgy. Yes, it has a few comedic moments. Don't get me wrong. There's some moments that are hilarious, but it obviously goes more for a darker movie compared to its sequels, which tend to blend a bit more comedy into its darkness. Yes, it still has some dark moments, but they tend to be a bit more comedic because they realised, well, this partnership between Eddie and Venom is basically like a buddy cop situation at times, and they bounce off each other really well. So you can understand why the sequels looked. It was like, let's try and change our tone here with this franchise, more specifically the Venom trilogy. But I do like that this one is a bit more dark, a bit more edgier. I think that makes it obviously different. So I like a bit props for that, because I feel like, yes, you can get away with a Venom sort of being a more funnier movie at times, but I feel like you can definitely, as proved by this, you can get away with a Venom movie being a more darker movie. I mean, fuck's sake, he literally eats people. Like, he literally eats people's heads. So you look at that and go, okay, tell me what you can do there. That's funny. That is like a dark situation, like this, like aliens taking over a human body and just eating people's brains. That's dark. Yeah, you can have a laugh with it and have him make some snarky comments, but come on. So you can understand why they looked at it and like, okay, let's make a dark movie. Let's kick this off a dark movie. But then I'm guessing they probably just saw the response to the Venom and Eddie stuff and we're like, okay, maybe we can sort of change the tone a bit. So, I mean, I don't hate the comedic tone they go with. It does work for me in the sequels, and I'll get into that when I actually talk about the sequels. But I do like the darkness that's within this first movie. Obviously, I noted here, because I did check the time on the movie, it does take about an hour before you actually get Venom properly on screen. Obviously, as they approach the hour, you get like an image, you get like a reflection, a mirror. I think it's a car window actually. But obviously, it's like almost the hour point when you actually get Eddie becoming proper Venom. But I think that's kind of worth it, because you get a lot of story building up to what's going to go on, and you get a lot of just Eddie being Eddie. You get a lot more character development for him before you introduce the actual titular character of Venom. Yes, you can look at it and go, well, the movie's called Venom. Surely to God, you need to have Venom a bit more prior to that. And to fair, the build up to when you get him fully on screen, I'm fine with that, because you do get a lot of moments where obviously you just hearing him talking to Eddie, making Eddie go a bit more crazier. So I think that works for me, because again, it keeps, obviously, yes, if you know about Venom, if you've seen any of the fucking trailers or anything like that, you'll know what Venom looks like. But I do like the mystery side of it. Obviously, no one really knowing what's going on, and it's just him hearing voices, fucking just going batshit crazy, until the point of Venom needs to appear to not only kill people, but also basically just defend Eddie, who's basically going to get taken by government agents or at least killed by them. So obviously, it makes sense that he wouldn't just show up like that. I think to me that does work. I'm also happy on top of that they're not just outright friends. It's a friendship that builds over the course of the movie. From when they actually obviously are fully attached to each other. I like that they slowly build it up. And I mean, even at the end, they're not like full on friends. Friends are acquaintances that can work well together, because they need to, basically, they need each other. I mean, Eddie literally has no life without Venom. At the back, obviously, after he gets fired from his job, and on top of that, Venom can literally not live without a human host. And in his case, Eddie's the most compatible human host he could be be thankful for. And I'm just happy that they're not friends straight away, and it's such obviously a back and forth until the point of, okay, we're at a steady relationship. I mean, even in the sequels, there's still moments where they're still not full on friends, but they know that they need each other to survive, and they're just perfect for each other. I mean, the line from Venom of calling Eddie a pussy is just so fucking hilarious. They're not only obviously work well together in terms of fighting, but the back and forth with the banter is also perfect. And I think that's what they probably saw and were like, okay, let's make a bit more comedy, a bit more focus on this banter side of it rather than basically this more darker, mature theme for the movie. So you can understand from just these few moments you get throughout when obviously Eddie and Venom are a bit more talkative to each other. You can see why Sony probably thought, okay, let's take a different approach with this character. I mean, I felt like they could literally just do this type of movie and still work with that comedy. Obviously, just those little moments, not too over the top comedy, just a reasonable amount. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, special effects are pretty solid. I mean, for a movie that's protagonist and antagonist are just pure CGI, you kind of have to get the effects basically spot on. And for me, they do. I mean, I don't see any real issues with the CGI. Obviously, this movie helps as well with its dark theme, because obviously set at nighttime, a lot of it is. So that can kind of help the special effects a bit more. I mean, there's a deleted scene. I don't know if it's finished CGI or not, but there's a deleted scene which is set in the daytime where you get to see Venom in the light, and has a few moments where you look at it and go, a bit dicey. So I don't know if that is an actual finished CGI scene or not. If it is finished, then thankfully we got this all in the darkness, because they say the dark helps cover up dodgy CGI at times, and I said this isn't really dodgy CGI. It's actually pretty decent CGI. There's a lot of cool sequences that has a full CGI in this movie that I look and go, that's actually pretty spot on CGI. Which for a film made in 2018, you'd be expecting it to have pretty spot on CGI. What else have I got? Yeah, obviously the villain of the movie, Riot, or Carlton Drake, I think his name is, the human side of him. Obviously, they're both not bad. They're both an interesting choice of villain for the first outing of Venom. I think most people probably would have expected Carnage from the outright, but obviously this kind of does a decent job of saving that, really, for its obviously sequel. And I think they do a decent job writing this villain in this, obviously, because you got the alien side, obviously Riot, which is he basically just wants to kill Venom and basically bring. I think I'll bring the symbiote army down to Earth, obviously for his He's never mentioned this, but I'm guessing for his grand creator, no. But then on top of that, you got the human side, who isn't as powerful as Riot, isn't as strong as him, but he's someone that you wouldn't want to fuck with, because he wouldn't like physically beat you up. I mean, he literally has the power to make you disappear, or in this movie's case for Eddie, just ruin your entire career. One word from him and that's it. You're out of the business. So I like that the obviously made these two distinctly different villains. One who's physically powerful and one who's more, I want to say mentally powerful, more powerful in terms of wealth and hierarchy in basically our society. So I do like that they're both drastically different. Whereas you can say that obviously, if you look at Venom and Eddie, especially when you meet them, obviously when they first meet each other, they're both kind of outcasts on Earth, pretty much. So they pretty much are obviously so similar and compatible. As I say, these two villains are so drastically different that makes them compatible. Because alone, yes, they're powerful in their own rights, but together they are a problem basically for everyone. But obviously, one of the things I noted here, obviously, it's not just a problem with this movie; it's a problem with a lot of comic book movies in terms of the villain and the hero, or anti-hero in this case, are basically the exact same character with just a few tweaks to them. Obviously, Venom and Riot are pretty much both symbiotes. Obviously, the only difference is Riot tends to create weapons, whereas Venom just tends to use basically his fists. I mean, you see him make a shield at one point, but he tends to use his fists more than anything. But Riot can literally creates weapons. Obviously, this movie isn't the only one you can note that does this. I mean, the sequel to Venom also does the exact same fucking approach. A couple of examples I noted here: Iron Man and Ironmonger from the first Iron Man movie. I mean, they're both the exact same type of thing. They're both characters in armor. One's just in a bigger armor. Obviously, Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket both have the pin particle tech. Both can shrink. Difference is Yellow Jacket has lasers and can fly. What else? Superman and Zod, basically both Kryptonians. Literally the exact same. One's just good, one's just evil. And I think that sort of idea does probably work for like a first movie. But I feel like after a while, you kind of you should be taking the approach of bringing in a different style of villain just to try and shake things up a bit, which is why, obviously, the third one, that does that. And I'm happy it does that because, I say, 3 back-to-back movies of just symbiote fighting after a while, it kind of gets stale, but you can kind of let it slide with the second movie of this one because of the fact that the villain of the second movie is probably one of the biggest symbiote characters that isn't Venom. So you can kind of let that slide. I mean, the only way you could let it slide for the third one is if the third villain would have been like anti-Venom or something. That's the only way I would have probably let it slide of them going 3 back-to-back movies of just being symbiotes. See, that's why I like the Ant-Man trilogy. Each one is different. Ant-Man 1, Yellow Jacket. Yes, the same villain as Ant-Man, same type of character as Ant-Man, basically just with wings and lasers. But the second one then brings in Ghost, who's a completely different character. And then obviously in the last one you had why is his name going off the top of my fucking head? The guy fuck. Why is his name going out to my head? He's like a massive fucking villain. Oh, fuck's sake. Where is it? That one was Quantum Mania. Where are we looking? Kang. I didn't even get to the part of, obviously, on Wikipedia here where it says the character's name. I just fucking finally remembered it. Kang the Conqueror. A character who's probably way too OP for fucking Ant-Man, really. So I like that each 3 of those movies offer you a different style of villain. And I will give credit to comic movies when they do that. I say I don't mind it once or twice if it's the case of you don't want to go out with your big character straight away. Obviously other opposite character straight away. You want to allow that for a different movie. But it's just after a while, it just gets a bit, I don't know, stale. But at the same time, with Venom, you can look at it and go, well, what else can Venom really tackle? Obviously, other than maybe other Marvel characters. So a symbiote-related character is probably the one that makes sense. Obviously, clearly with the last one, they clearly set up another symbiote-related character, just not in the same sense of Riot or Carnage, just more in line with what the actual villain is of the third one, or minor. I'd say villain because the character that's set up is obviously he's a minor villain in the third one. He's the puppet master of it all. So, but yeah, I do like comic movies when they have a completely opposite villain to what the hero is. But I say I'll let it slide for this one, because Riot is obviously quite fucking brutal. And I mean the action sequences in this movie are pretty entertaining to watch. I mean the bike chase is fun, the SWAT team ambush is action packed, the forest sequence is surprising, and the final battle is basically all that symbiote fight, which is really cool. I mean, there's a really cool shot in it where you see sort of the symbiote peeling away from the host and the host punching in the middle. And it's like I like that, and that's what I mean when I was on about the decent CGI in this movie. That shot of the symbiote sort of kind of exploding from the hosts as they're sort of inside, obviously battling. That for me is like probably one of my favorite shots of this movie. As they've not seen that shot, watching, it's a fucking really good shot. But obviously all these fights, all these action sequences, I pretty much buy the number fight sequences or action sequences, but that's fine by me. I always think if it's at least entertaining, I don't mind if it's a basic fight, as long as it's entertaining and it throws something decent my way that makes me go, I like that. And for me, these fights have at least one moment that does that. I'm not going to say, I won't go into full detail on all those moments because that'd be full spoiler territory. But I will say I do like the fact that they do allow Eddie to have a few little fight sequences without Venom involved, because that does show that he can still hold his own in a fight. So I'll give him props for doing that. Obviously, then the Stan Lee cameo and the Eminem song that everyone fucking knows for this movie, Venom, was just the icing on the cake for this movie. What else forgot? Yeah. Obviously, the end credit tease for the sequel is probably the right way to end this movie, because it definitely gets you hyped for that second one, as I say, for the villain you are getting in the follow-up movie. Obviously, at this point where we see him, it's obviously the character's host, not the symbiote. So, obviously, he's still got to get to that point of getting the symbiote. So, obviously, I like that you get the tease for the human side, the villain, and just the concept of the character and how vicious this character is, in terms of being different to Riot and his host in this movie. Because obviously, with Riot's host in this one, he's, as I say, he's more of a character that can end you like that in terms of in the public eye, whereas this character you get to meet at the end literally can just end you. And the whole point of his character at the end is that he has a lot of bodies hidden away that he might reveal to Eddie. And it's just like, okay, yes. I mean, the casting choice for this definitely is a good choice, considering the fact that obviously the actor Woody Harrelson, who you get to see in this movie, literally played a very similar character, minus a symbiote, in a movie years and years before. So fuck off, Hayden. So it's oh, god damn it, every fucking Monday always meshes the same words, and it's usually pancakes, and I'm too weak to say no because I like my pancakes. But now I'm gonna mute it in case you message it back. But yes, so where was I? Obviously, perfect choice, yes. So it's obviously, I know a lot of people in the second one wasn't a big fan of the actual performance, but when I rewatch it, I'll have an opinion exactly on that. I don't remember too much about the second one. It's been a while since I watched it, but his choice here is definitely a good casting choice. And so the final shot of the movie, being him and the tease of what's to come, was just chef's kiss, really. But yeah, what else we got? Obviously, there's also another end credit scene, which when I remember watching this in cinema, obviously, I 100% I can't remember if I actually stayed till the end, or if I left during the, obviously after the first credit scene. I can't remember. It's been that long since I watched this in cinema. I cannot remember. But obviously you got the Spider-Verse tease, obviously the Into the Spider-Verse teaser, which obviously showcases the entire sequence of the Prowler chase. Which, as I say, it's easy marketing for Sony. I'm not going to count that towards my rating towards this movie because, well, it's not like they've literally just chucked in a scene from another movie just to get you hyped. Similar to Civil War, where Civil War, sorry. Was it Ant-Man the first one when they literally threw in that one shot, the one sequence from Civil War? I think. Yeah, I think it was Ant-Man. The end credit for Ant-Man had a scene where Cap and Falcon have Winter Soldier captured. So again, they literally did the exact same. This movie did the exact same. Going, okay, let's take a scene we've already filmed and put this in another movie just to get people hyped. At least the difference, at least with the Marvel one, it made sense because they're in the same universe. With the Venom one, they're not. So I'm not gonna. So it's a good, easy marketing for Sony, and it was a nice little way of getting people hyped for Into the Spider-Verse, because I definitely saw it and was like, okay, this looks good, and obviously it turned out really good. And then at some point down the line, I'm going to try and cover it on the channel. I'll get Alex for that one because it's been animated. But yeah, pretty certain that covers all my points I really wanted to bring up. So as I say, overall, it's a fun, dark movie with a good performance from Tom Hardy. Got a good supporting cast, some decent action sequences, some good CGI. It's definitely a good start to the Venom trilogy and this universe overall. And it's a much needed spot of redemption for Venom in terms of live action appearances following the Spider-Man 3 appearance, because that one was just not great. So it's definitely an up from that. So in terms of that, rating wise, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's not great, but it's a decent movie. So I won't go any higher than an 8. I won't push it into the 9 region. I think an 8's a reasonable position for this movie, and it's way better than fucking what they've offered with the other characters in this universe. So I'll give them props for at least nailing one of the characters spot on. Probably helps at right casting choice. I mean, I'm not digging at Aaron Taylor Johnson's casting choice as Kraven. It was a decent casting, just in a bad movie. But obviously, the casting choice of Tom Hardy was the right choice, really. He's got star power. He's popular. And he obviously likes the character. And then on top of that, you've got decent people behind the cameras on this one. I mean, you got the director of Zombieland working on it. I know he doesn't come back for the sequels, but you still get decent directors working on the sequels that respect the character of Venom. So I don't think it's going to go any higher than 8 for me. I've watched this movie multiple times now, but I've always gone with an 8 every time I've obviously watched this, and I'm still sticking with that rating. I am going to bring back the franchise ranking. So if you watch this listen to this podcast, or watch this podcast if you're watching on YouTube, back in 2022, when Hayden and I covered the Jurassic Park /World franchise, obviously at the end of each podcast, we had a ranking. Both of us had an individual ranking on the entries in the universe. So I can't remember off the top of my head when. I think mine was was Fallen Kingdom like my favorite? Was it Dominion? I think Fallen Kingdom might have been like my top one. It was like that. So it was like, for example, Jurassic Park would have been the top. So Jurassic Park, off the top of my head, Fallen Kingdom, Dominion, World, Free, Lost World, like that sort of ranking situation. I'm going to bring that back for the off the top of my head, it's SMCU. So obviously I've already done 2, but I didn't put a ranking on them, but I will put them in the ranking now. So straight away, top of this ranking is going to be Venom, followed by Madam Web in the second, and Craven the Hunter in third. Obviously when I cover the next 2 Venom movies and Morbius, I will throw them into this list, and by the final video, you'll have a full, complete ranking of my own personal opinion on this franchise. But at the moment, that's pretty much how it is. I say at some point down the line, I would like to do a more spoiler, in-depth review, but I like saving the spoiler ones for when I got people on, because we can kind of delve into it together and be like, yes, I like that scene for these specific reasons. I just think it's easier for me doing the spoiler-free ones by myself than it is just doing the spoiler ones, because I could speak for ages fucking dissecting certain scenes. I'm saving them for more group-related ones. So yeah, obviously, if you've seen Venom, put your thoughts in the comments below. You can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, etc., etc. Obviously, as I say, I've done Madam Web and Craven. The link for them will be in the description below. You can check them out as well. Trying to think what else. I'm pretty certain that's it. Next week, I'll be moving on to Venom Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to this movie. In terms of how I'm going to be releasing these, obviously, Venom 2 will be next week. I'm then going to be doing Morbius before I do the final Venom movie, because I'm waiting for the Blu-ray release on the final one, and that comes out the week I'd need to be covering it, so I can't guarantee I'd have it on time. So I'm just going to wait a week. So I'm just going to do these in release order, not actual Venom trilogy and then Morbius. So I'm at least going to save a decent one for the last one, not rather than just jump straight into Morbius. So yeah, I think that covers everything. I do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And well, I'll see you on the next video.